All right, hey, it's Mike Gowans here with Martial Arts Growth, and I've got one of our clients on, Barry Crowther. He's over there in Northern England. I'm going to let him share a little bit about his story, but I've got him on here because he's went through our program, and he's done tremendous with it. He's signed up, about 30 students in the last 4 weeks or something like that?
Yeah, last 3 weeks.
Last 3 weeks. And you're seeing about 400+% ROI on what you've spent to get them there. So pretty good numbers, amazing numbers. And I just wanted to bring him on here. I'm going to talk to him about his journey and what it was like. And he's not going to hold back. And we're just going to keep it raw and uncut because we want to really help martial arts business owners understand that, this is a viable option and there is a better way to do it than the old flyers and traditional guerrilla marketing route. Not that those things don't work. It's just there's a better way. So we're going to talk about that. But with that being said, I'm just going to keep it pretty brief. We want to have him, speaking the most. I know he's got questions, but this is just an open chat. So you're going to maybe learn some things here too that, because I know you said you had some questions, Barry, so I'm excited for that. But with that being said, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of share a little bit about your story of, why you're doing what you're doing and a little bit of your background so people know who you are.
So my story is a little bit unusual, actually, because I started martial arts when I was young, like most people, probably like yourself, Mike. We did a bit of karate, did a bit of kickboxing, Muay Thai, got into my 30s, career, family, life gets in the way. So like fell off the bandwagon a little bit. And then I emigrated to the US, to California in 2007. And while I was out there, I was just going to the gym, got a little bored. Then there was a little postcard put up in the gym, and it said something along the lines of, do you want to try Brazilian Jiu Jitsu? So the UFC, to me, coming from England to the US, was still brand new. We don't have it there was nowhere near as big as it is today. So I'm watching TV and I kept seeing this UFC cage fight thing. But Joe Rogan kept talking about Jiu Jitsu. And I kept thinking to myself, it looks really interesting, this Jiu Jitsu. And then I see this card. So it was virtually walking distance from where I was living. And I walked around the corner. The academy's only been open about 6 months at this point in time. Went on the first night, signed up on the first night, and I've never looked back. And so now I've been training over 15 years now. I did 7 years, nearly 8 years in California. And then I've been back in the UK since. And I set up my my own academy, almost by accident. I was doing something else when I came back to the UK, just working away. And a friend of mine said, this jiu-jitsu you've been doing. So, because I was going around training at different people's academies, there was no academy that I could sort of get close to. There was nothing near me. I had to have to drive miles to get there. So one of my friends says, do you want to teach me some things? So I said, yeah, sure. So once a week, me, him, his brother, a couple of friends, ended up getting some little jigsaw mats. I think we had 9 jigsaw mats. So what's that? 9 square meters. Yeah, so it's like 9 square yards in imperial language. So we used to train on that. And then next thing, one of the brothers said, a friend of mine, I'm getting right into this, I'm excited by it. He wants to come along. So one thing led to another. Next thing, I've got 16 students. And I'm just charging them real small amount, when they come in, just to cover the sort of cost of the room, this sort of thing. Then he was getting out of control just by word of mouth. So a friend of mine had some old mats, bought the old mats off him, put the old mats down, and then we built a proper jiu-jitsu academy. We started charging everybody a monthly fee, and I would do regular classes throughout the week. And I'd never intended for this to happen. It was just pure accident. Then I went training at another guy's gym, and his gym was really nice mats, beautiful decor, changing rooms. Mine, where I was training at that point in time, was in an old warehouse. So we had a caravan on one side with a stacker truck, and then on the other side, it was stacked up with bags of concrete. It had no ceiling, so you could see the roof from the mat. And we're just rolling around on the floor and enjoying ourselves. So it worked out. It was really, really good. And then once I saw this guy's gym and I thought how good it was, I thought, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to borrow money to put proper mats down and everything else. And within 18 months to 2 years of us finishing that little setup, I'd outgrown it. So I moved to a bigger location, took more debt, more responsibility, bigger lease, 10,000 square foot facility, big kids mat, big adult mat, dedicated MMA area out the back of the gym. And then the pandemic hits. So I got myself up to pretty good numbers. But then once the pandemic hit, and I fancy myself as quite sophisticated when it comes to marketing, even online marketing. You know, I've spent a lot of money over the years on every course imaginable. The problem with most of the courses is they're not very applicable to BJJ. Even the martial arts ones that we have in the UK. I was a member of a martial arts group in the UK for a period of time, almost like a networking kind of group where we would share ideas and this sort of stuff. But again, kickboxing, kung fu, taekwondo, a lot of these things, when we went into lockdown, almost switched to online. And they were very, very straightforward to do online. You didn't need a training partner. You could practice katas. You could do weapons training. None of this was applicable to jiu-jitsu. Basically, once the academy closed, we were closed. And if there's any UK viewers, like you said earlier, I'm based in the north of England. I'm based in Bolton. Bolton was the #1 death capital in the UK. So we were penalised far more than any other business. We actually had a local lockdown. So even when other businesses started to open, all the businesses in Bolton stayed closed. We still couldn't travel outside of Bolton. We had to stay at home. It was crazy times.
So we're sitting here. It's August. It's Wednesday, August 4th, at least in the States here. What's the current status of your situation with that whole pandemic thing right now?
We're open now. Basically, most of the country is pretty much open. They called it Freedom Day or something like that a couple of weeks ago. So basically, everything's now really based on personal choice. So if you want to wear a mask when you go into a shop, you can wear a mask. If you want to be vaccinated, you can be vaccinated or not vaccinated. There is no vaccine passport right now. So everybody can pretty much do whatever you want. Traveling is still very, very difficult. All the various tests depending on the country you're going to. But right now in the UK, we are breaks off, absolutely trying to get ourselves back to some form of normality.
Now, you did say something, not to interrupt you, but I know we've got a lot of the same personality. I think it'll be good if we just break into each other's, interruptions are okay in my opinion sometimes.
They're okay with me, mate.
So the thing that I wanted to know is you said something about like, you've bought a lot of courses, you've spent a lot of time and energy, and I know you probably do some, I think you do some martial arts, like marketing consulting, it seemed like.
Some very, very small amount. Yeah.
So in saying what you said about the courses, like, you've bought a lot, you've been through a lot of that stuff, and it's more suited for the other disciplines, but when it comes to BJJ, it wasn't so much suited for that. Why?
Well, a lot of the others, the things that I was doing were either agencies. They really wanted you to not really focus on your own business. They really wanted you to become an advertising marketing agency in your own right, sort of thing. So I would become the martial arts marketing agency for, that kind of thing. So they would show you different processes, but it wasn't focused on bricks and mortar style businesses. So a lot of it sort of like didn't work locally. When I did the martial arts growth system, and I pretty much I'd run out of ideas. So I just thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to trust this guy. I'm going to just follow it verbatim from the beginning. Step 1, step 2, step 3, follow the rules. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, I'll do something else. And that was my attitude towards starting the course. Then once I actually started to sort of like focus, and I'll be honest to the viewers, this is not easy work. This is pure, focused, concentrated effort. If you think, you're going to buy mag and then just turn it on, get up in the morning and you're going to be full of students, it doesn't work that way. You've really got to follow your advice. You're guiding us down that route and telling us what to do. But it's, at the end of the day, it's me that's got to do the work. It's just like jiu-jitsu. If you turn up to classes and just watch, you're never going to be a black belt. Sooner or later, you've got to get on the mat. You've got to do all the hard work. You've got to train. You've got to get smashed. You've got to get back up again, dust yourself off, go again. You've got to do all this kind of stuff. And it was no different going through the MAG system.
You know, and that's, I think there's a point there. It's like a lot of people, they'll go online. I've done this myself. I'm sure you've done it. You go online and you see like people talking about how to get students on, say, YouTube or maybe a Facebook video or something. And you're trying to piece and patch all these parts together. And while maybe this little tip or idea might be okay, it's not a singular. It's like all the teeth and the gears have to be there for it to turn. And I think the other thing is, just like with you, people see, oh, well, I'll just look at, BJJ online and I'll figure it out that way. And like you just said, you can't, it's not a just watch and not be involved or do type thing. And I think that that's really important because like you said, there is more involved. I mean, if you want to grow a real 6 and 7 figure, income, it's not going to be lollygagging around. So yeah. So one of the things I wanted to maybe ask you about was, and I didn't mean to shut down any concentration. I know we're going to bounce around a little bit and come back, but what was before you because the pandemic happened, right? And I think like most people, you lost a bunch of students. It was just kind of like chaos. And where were you at, like with the real problem, like before you came into us? Where were you struggling at? Like, what was the struggle point?
The struggle point for me was we'd done quite well. This new academy was very, very well established. We had a really, really good baseline. Everything was built on a dues membership. So all costs, profit margins, everything was already built in. We were looking really, really like a good business, really almost looking to expand again. But I hit this point, and for the life of me, I couldn't get past it. And it was a point that sort of said, you've got this number of many members. And then what I would do is I would say, sign, because I wasn't as sophisticated as we are now, I would maybe sign 2-3 students a week. Okay. Tops. But I did virtually no marketing. Every now and then, if things were getting slow, I'd put some marketing out there. But then I would lose 3 students through no fault of our own. People just moved away, people got injured, people lost their jobs for whatever reason. So we were gaining 3 and losing 3, and I just could not get past this magic number. So when I was joining, like I say, the group that was in the UK, that was a martial arts. See, martial arts is a very, very broad spectrum, as I'm sure you know. You'll be talking to a Taekwondo guy next week, I should imagine, and a Kung Fu guy after that, and a Ninjutsu guy after that. So I'm not disparaging any of those martial arts, but because Jiu-Jitsu is tough, really, really tough, people think it's like a fight club kind of thing. And I had to change the perception of that so that people could just come in and try it. And you can get fit, you can build confidence. You don't have to train with the animals at the end of the gym. You can just get fit, build your confidence, like I say. So when we were going through the MAG system and we were looking for that solution to provide a solution, and also I didn't really understand how the offer worked. I thought I did. I fancy myself, like I say, as a pretty sophisticated business person. I've been working for myself in various industries for a very, very long period of time. But I just could not get the offer right. And then now all of a sudden we just change things, tweak things ever so slightly. And because we followed the system and it worked. So yeah, I could not get past that number. We're already past that number now. So all of a sudden it's almost like, the 4-minute mile. It can't be done. And then all of a sudden, one guy breaks it, and then within a month, 6 guys break it. So now I've got past that ceiling. I'm good.
So for the people that are watching, most likely the people that are going to be watching right now are people that are trying to start martial arts schools, or they already have a martial arts business and they're, stuck and they don't know how to get more students, or they're, doing these old things, or they're just not marketing at all. And they don't, you've got to do something. When you talk about the offer, what do you mean that you couldn't get the offer right? I just want people to be clear on what you were talking about there. So before, maybe share what you were doing in terms of like an offer, and then how did that change once you started doing the Dojo Student Blueprint? Like what was it what shifted in your mind about how to create the offer or what to do there?
Well, which again is going to become one of the questions, but we've shifted, but we've not shifted all the way. So it's always very useful. I don't know if it's cultural within Europe or the UK, but it's very difficult to sell over the phone in the UK. But what we can do is, and we've changed everything around so that I have a really, really nice conversation with people. Every call that I've made now, it's not like I'm pestering them, trying to sell them something. They're all waiting for my call. I ring them up and they go, hey, and because they've seen me on video, we chat like we know each other. So we have this conversation. And then what I do is I give them two options. They can either come into an intro class or a beginner's class. And I give them, there's no obligation. They just come along. And then we present them with the same price as it's always been, but just presented in a slightly different way. Prior to MAG, we used to just give people an intro class. They could just book online. I didn't even, people just walking off the street pretty much, didn't know who they were. I'd take their details down at that point, and then we would give them a free week. I can't almost believe it now. We'd give them a free week. And then at some point during the week, we'd say, so do you fancy joining, kind of thing? And some people would say, yeah. Some people had never come back. Now, people are just coming in that intro class. They're already primed. The pump is primed. They come in, they enjoy themselves. I know that the product that we're selling is quality, so they love it. We present the price opportunity in a different way than we did before with the 60% discount. It's like trying to get your pricing right. We kept thinking, we'll ring around all the gyms and find out what they're charging. Well, it doesn't really matter what anybody else is charging. What matters is how you present that offer, and that makes people go for it. And we're almost at like, I bet you were at about 90% closing ratio, something crazy like this.
Yeah, and
on day one.
Yeah, so I think for those that are listening and watching, the big thing is understanding, number one, you said when you get on the call with them, they know you and they've never met you before. Because you've got to really, I watched your video. I think you've done an incredible job with your video, and it's just going to go up from there, because I can see where you're going to go with it. It's just going to continue to enrich itself. I know you're working on a virtual course. I want to talk to you about that, because that's impossible apparently. So we're gonna talk about that. But so with your offer, that having that neuro script that we have, that helps, having those 12 steps. It goes from like you're a convincing, like salesy, you feel kind of grimy, to where it's just a really nice conversation. It's very scheduled. It's almost the same time every time, and both parties enjoy the process. And so when you go to make that offer, and you're probably able to easily collect, as you said, you're closing at like 90%. It's completely different, and you were able to, and I watched in your video, you were able to do a very good job of really making the person understand what's going to happen prior to even thinking about joining, which eliminates that free month or free week or all that stuff. And they come with, you probably have a different quality of students joining, I would imagine.
We do. And one thing that I sort of emphasize on the call, which goes down great, and I hope anybody who's watching this sort of like follows my lead, because honestly, I'm not a big telesales guy. I like talking to people like we're talking now, but talking on the phone. So the first calls, like all of a sudden I'm getting booked calls, which I've never had before. Now all of a sudden my calendar's filling up and thinking, ooh. And I felt a lot of pressure from, I've got to get this guy to come down to an intro class. But when I made the first phone call, the guy was so friendly. It was almost like I was like some kind of celebrity ringing him up to have a chat with him. And then basically the call sort of like went along the lines of, you can go down this route, or you can go down this route with the intro or a beginner's class. But the thing that seemed to make the difference was, like you're saying, the quality of the people. So I would say things like, the average age at our academy is about 30 years of age. And even though it's 30 years of age, we're all very mature. It's a very cool academy. We've got a cool vibe. There's no Conor McGregors. There's no, Nate Diaz's to deal with. You've just got a really, really cool bunch of guys that just want to get fit. They want to train. The reaction on the other end of the phone is, that's exactly what I'm looking for. They tell me the same thing every time. And because I'm a bit of an older guy, I'm not like a 21-year-old saying, do you want to do an MMA fight? They're sort of like going, oh, that's great. But it doesn't matter how old I am. With the video sort of like pre-sold it, then I'm making the call. They know me from the video. Oh, got a black belt in Jiu Jitsu ringing me up this afternoon. One guy, just before this call, I got off the phone, and when I actually finished the end of the conversation, he went, do you know what, Barry? You've actually made me feel good today. I was having a really bad day, but now I'm feeling good. And I'm thinking, awesome. This is the craziest thing. So you really want to join? So before he's even turned up, I know he will join.
And, the way we position it so that, like you said, you're somewhat of a celebrity to them because they've seen you on this video. You're showing up in you're not out there handing out flyers. You're not sitting at a booth. You're not doing this thing. They're coming to you and they're seeing you and they're deciding upon themselves, oh gosh, this guy's information is, what I'm looking for because of, you knew the problems that were out there and your ads and the things that you're saying are tapping into that and striking that nerve. And they come over. You generate a lead, which is powerful because now you don't ever have to pay for that student ever. That's a big thing about the system is, people aren't generating the leads. They're just driving them to some page, or if they do drive them to a page and try to collect an email, the next experience they have is just, thanks for, giving us your email. And with you, they come in and they have this experience with you. And once you have them as an email, then you don't have to keep paying for the exposure, run another ad to try to get in front of them. They're on your email list. You can just talk to them as many times as you want, but you're positioned completely different. And like you said, they're coming to you and they're not like with the defense up about, oh, this guy's trying to sell me because of the way you position yourself. I love the way you end your call. I love, you just did a really just A+ job on it. I mean, frankly, you executed everything. I mean, I went through your whole process and you just did a phenomenal job. And I love some of the additions that you made on the pages. So with what you came in with, you had the problem where you were kind of stuck at this number. You thought you knew how to make an offer. You had prior experience, but you weren't really realizing that there's another level to making that offer. And then you came into the Dojo Student Blueprint with what was your desired outcome with this? Like, what was your biggest, I know you were stuck at students and you maybe learned about some things that you weren't sure of, but you didn't even know you didn't know. And then what was the real desire behind the whole thing? What was your expectations?
Well, the goalposts changed. So I couldn't get beyond the magic number. And then the pandemic came. We lost in the first month, we pretty much lost all the junior students. The whole program within 6 weeks was decimated. There was like about 6 kids left, something like that. Now, the government in the UK would give you, what do they call it in the US, where you get like a check or something? It's basically like just money from the government to help you grow your business. Handout kind of thing. So we got these handouts, but I don't know if it happened the same with a lot of other businesses, but my business, like I say, we're in quite a big facility. We did not get a break at all. So all the rent was full, all the service charge was full, all the taxes were full. The only thing that wasn't, well, it was still at full rate, but we hardly used it, was electricity and gas. So because nobody turned the lights on, we got a break on the electricity bill. So a lot of the students maintained their memberships. They wanted the academy to still be there when we came back. But when all was said and done, at the end of that process, when we started to reopen, which would have been, we're in August now, so it must have been June, maybe, that we reopened. And we lost about 45% overall of the membership. And now on August the 4th, we are definitely moving in the right direction as fast as humanly possible. to get ourselves back to the numbers that we were at and beyond.
So when you came into the Dojo Student Blueprint, you said it's not for the lazy, unmotivated type, right? So
yeah.
and I don't think, frankly, anybody that's running a school or anybody that's trying to actually solve a problem and be a provider of, fitness, well-being, mental mindset, the whole thing, I don't think you can be a slack anyway. I think you have to be focused, care about people, and this program just is not designed for people that are not serious about going to those upper levels. And so, that does stop quite a few. But when you came into the Dojo Student Blueprint, what was your first experience like? And as you went through it, what were some things that really changed that you weren't expecting?
Well, initially, at first, I'll be honest, when I first opened the first very, very beginning of the modules, you're talking a lot about mindset and this sort of stuff. And I kept thinking, show me some practical stuff. Show me how to turn a Facebook ad on, because we want to do stuff, But you're talking about, setting up the bricks and this is important stuff, this. But I didn't think it was at the time. I actually sort of did it backwards. I sort of jumped ahead, got a couple of things practically working, or at least started work on them. And then I thought, it's really good, this. And then I went back to the beginning. And that's when my mindset started to change. And I started to say, right, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this a little bit different. But I sort of I think it was confidence that was building up in the system. Like I say, in all the courses, and I mean, I've spent literally thousands of pounds on courses over the years. And you start off with all that enthusiasm, and it usually goes, ugh. So you get to the end of the course and you think, you know what, I think I'll buy another course, thinking that will solve your problem. But that's not what happened here. What changed my perception of the Dojo Blueprint was that I started in the middle. So I went to the end, thought it was fantastic, and then went back to the beginning and caught up from behind almost. And that, because like I say, there were so many things that I was missing. I mean, just like the email automations and using ActiveCampaign and the logic of ActiveCampaign was so crazy good that now, even if I turn my ads off now, today, I would still have booked calls next week, the week after, the week after, the week after. I know that because there's bookings coming into my calendar where I'm thinking, I don't remember that guy coming on, but he did come on, but he came on about 3 weeks ago. And then now he's got the emails, he's nice and warm, and now we're doing the warm retargeting, we're doing the hot retargeting, and that's starting to kick in. So I'm stood at reception last night, and people were coming in and joining that I'm thinking, I don't remember them even touching the system at all. I certainly don't remember them even booking the call. And it's almost like they just sort of had the emails and just came down and joined and said, let me join. And that is very, very sophisticated.
I want you to share, because you've been through a lot of courses and you've been through a lot of other things that say automation and stuff like that. There's a big difference between what I've noticed in these other programs. We've taken a look at what's available, and
sure.
A lot of the automations that people, they say, oh, our software, offers automation, or, there's email follow-up. This is a completely different thing, isn't it? It's like you're having a customized and very connected conversation with these people, and the ability, like you said, the logic that is inside of that, you can make it work as if, well, it's basically like you have yourself duplicated out there and communicating with these people on why you matter all throughout their journey. And it's not just, hey, 50% off, or just, hey, you didn't, call us or whatever. You have like a real conversation. You create video that really connects with them because you're actually trying to help them. You're not just it's not just getting another student. It's like you're trying to create a school of quality, because what you become, you're going to attract. And so when you talk about those automations, it's, well, if we talk about the whole system, I think what you're trying to really say, that I think the hidden thing that people may not recognize from what you said is that message and the messaging and the communication to that client through the systems and the funnels and the ads and the automations and everything. That's the thing that I feel like people have the biggest struggle with is, I'm doing Facebook ads, or, I'm doing, I got automation, or I've got this software. Oh, my landing page, I've got funnels and all that stuff. It's understanding that message. Eh?
Yeah. And I think that is so true. And I think because we built it with the Dojo Student Blueprint from the ground up, the message has stayed consistent. So it's not like I've used, Active Campaign from one course. I came up with a series of emails there, and then I got some kind of CRM system that sent something else, and it messed up the messages, or it sent texts. And then I got something else that was a funnel from somewhere else. And again, education was really, really important. Things like testing, scaling, and you're not showing us exactly how to do it. You're teaching us how to do it so we can make those decisions ourselves. And I thought that was very, very useful. Even though I think that when we get to certain points in time, the whole thing is so difficult to keep in your head all at once that we have to come back to the group, the private members group, and say, actually, Mike, what should I do here? When the statistics aren't quite going according to the benchmarks, and we can make those little changes. And I mean, I'm seeing things now. I'm running 2 split tests on a landing page, but I'm not up to the magic 100. I won't make any changes till I've hit 100 clicks. So I've got my old landing page as against this new landing page, and the control is nowhere near as good as the new one. The new one is closing much harder.
So what would you, I want to talk, towards the end here, I know it's easy to talk about, oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. I do want you to share with people the reality of the difficulties with it too, because I don't want to pretend that doesn't exist. But when you think about what you're experiencing in this course, could you give like maybe 3 or 5 things that you notice that is completely different inside of what you get with the Dojo Student Blueprint compared to the other things that you've purchased and got a hold of? What are like the 5 big markers that you really enjoy that are different inside of this program compared to, the other things that you've experienced out there over the years?
I think the first thing is it's up to date. I think that's a key thing. I've bought courses even not long ago, maybe in lockdown, that Facebook and Google are changing their interfaces quite radically. So when we went to the fast track section, I was up and running in a couple of days. I had the whole thing sort of mapped out because I didn't have to go, well, that doesn't look like that anymore. Hey, Mike, what should I do now? Everything was pretty much cutting edge, up to date, on time. That was the first thing. The second thing was it was very martial arts based. Lots of the other, like a lot of the other courses I've got were things like Facebook marketing, Instagram marketing, YouTube marketing, but they were based around agencies selling online courses, online products. When you've got a bricks and mortar business, you have to make those changes, and the martial arts, system, the growth system. I think that covers all the martial arts side of things. So that was really, really good. The downsides as well with it's not a downside. It's like a good problem. After all the hard work was done, so a lot of that work is at the preliminary. So you're writing all your emails, you're putting all your Facebook ads together. You've got all your different audiences. You're running them in tandem, trying to figure out from your VSL funnel where everything goes and trying to make it all work. So you're doing all that, and that's great. And then you get your first couple of calls, and you think, wow, this is working great. And then you have a couple of calls, and the guys book in, and then they join, and you're thinking, yeah, this could work. As you go on, my diary, like I say, is just booked up with calls. And then I'm teaching classes sometimes, but It's like a good problem to have. And I don't know if there is a way maybe to dial it back a little bit, maybe just lower the budgets or something along them lines, just so it gets dialed back a little bit. Because my calendar now looks pretty heavy duty. It used to be like lots and lots of free time, and then I'd do things like books, like accounts, finances, general day-to-day stuff.
To just comment and answer on that, you're really at the point now where a part of the course is going to be opening where we show you how to shift the workload, right? So now there's also a funnel that you're going to be learning about here soon it's a hiring funnel, right?
Oh,
okay.
So
it's going to filter out, it's going to attract the type of person that you need that's going to come in. They're going to be able to take the system. So because it's a system, it doesn't depend on your awesomeness to work. It just, anybody that can operate the system can make it work. You'll have somebody come in, they're going to be managing these calls for you because, you're like what we share, hopefully you're recording all your calls and you're using that as a template so that when they come in, they go, I'm going to listen to those calls. They're going to handle that for you. You get more time off to yourself. But what you really, it's so fresh too. I mean, you're so new to the system anyway.
Yeah.
You always take all the calls just because it's a good practice. You learn a lot about your messaging and how to readjust your ads and stuff. But really what you want to do is when you get that book up like that, so that happens, you just get slammed with calls. The thing that you want to do is, because we show you how to get that survey and you can look at the call and you can see who these people are, you really should be turning down about 20% of the people.
Really?
So now here's the thing about it. If the surveys look amazing, then the surveys look amazing. I mean, you don't want to turn down, that. And you really don't want to turn down anybody that would want to join your school anyway. But what you do is you respond back to them and you kind of take their temperature. And we get calls all the time, and there would be, let's say, 7 appointments, and let's say one of them says, well, I don't have money to invest.
Right.
Or one of them says, we don't, they're just not there. You can tell. And we'll reach out to them and we'll say, hey, we've got a lot of calls today. We've got a lot of bookings. We just want to make sure that you're actually, serious about what you're getting yourself into here. And, we'll send them a few questions to take their temperature. We'll ask them like what their goals are, a little bit tighter things. And if it doesn't reach that threshold that we're looking for, we will ask them if they want to either A, reschedule, or B, we'll send them some information and say, hey, when you're a little bit more serious, come back. So you have to get to a place where you're kind of, it's a filtering mechanism. You probably don't talk to many tire kickers.
No, really don't.
They don't make it that far.
Yeah. And I think they don't. I mean, I have taken 2 bookings where they didn't have surveys. And maybe I shouldn't have taken those calls. I mean, they were good calls. They were nice. Whether they'll turn into business or not, I don't know.
Those are the ones that you would turn those down. And then another thing that you can go into is it's going to be opening up here too. It's number 1, you can automate even the sign up process. Okay. You can have it where they don't even need to talk to somebody. Right. So they'll just sign up and come to class.
Right.
So that's another option, and it becomes an option for them. So if you're ready to go, let's go. And you'll be surprised, a lot of times they don't even need to talk to you. They're ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then the second one is for those people that, may not be ready quite to be in class with you or in person or be a student like that. That's where you can also sell them a virtual standpoint of your course at a lower cost point, and then they become the kind of student that you want in the school. And that's where the biggest misconception is in this industry is you can't, I'll put my physical black belts against your virtual black belts and we'll see who wins. That's pretty caveman thinking, right? It's not about that, right? It's about taking somebody and, providing information to them. A lot of times you don't even have to, and jiu-jitsu is, very physical. But there's a lot of aspects about it that you can still teach in a virtual stance. And there's people, believe it or not, and there's hundreds of thousands of these people, if not more, that it's not about the physical for them. They still want the mindset. They still, if they want to practice with a dummy at home or their friend or whatever, so be it. That's their decision.
Yeah.
And when they want to come later, that's fine too, but it sets you up for a different thing. So, there's people that teach online, and then it's like, hey, when you're ready to come train with us, here's your next option. Or if you want to join our mastermind that we do 4 times a year or whatever, and join us for a week at a time, and then you can charge
seminar
more.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, you can charge more. And so it sets you up for more product options. It widens your scope. What's your perspective? I'd like to hear after going now through the Dojo Student Blueprint. What's your perspective on selling a virtual course through martial arts? I'd like to hear what you feel about on that.
I still think with Jiu Jitsu, you still need to have that physical contact. But I think that was a perfect segue that you were just talking about, where you could sell somebody an online product, and everybody in Jiu Jitsu buys all online products. Everybody says the same thing. You can't learn Jiu Jitsu online, which is sort of true. But by the same rule, you get companies like BJJ Fanatics, which are massive, and they sell thousands of courses every single day, all online. But it'll be about a specific subject. So it'll be about passing the guard. It'll be about Roger Gracie's cross collar choke from the mount. And these courses all go for about $77. They're getting more and more expensive now because you've got new companies coming into the marketplace. So they used to always be about $45, then it jumped to $77, and now they're at $129. So I will not have any trouble whatsoever selling my new RGA Accelerator program, which is what we're doing now for existing students and for new students. And the way that I've sort of worked it out in my mind, it's very straightforward to do. We have a beginner's program, and it takes 16 weeks. And we have a set number of techniques in each week. So what we're doing is we're going to encapsulate those 16 weeks as if they're being taught by me. So I do the demonstration on the student, and I let them try it. And then they can take a little quiz at the end of the week 1, and it'll tell them whether they've passed that module or not. Now, they're not getting graded. I'm not going to, you'll not get a black belt by doing a 16-week course. But from our perspective, retaining a potential new student who could come and become, like you say, a physical student, but also the existing students that we've got and the new students, this offsets all our marketing cost. So every time the student joins, it's slightly more than it's costing us to acquire them. So what's happening is that we are just getting booked with new students, and it costs us essentially nothing because we made the course once. That was it. We just made it once. And I just go in with one of my students, I go in on a Monday and a Thursday, we record for an hour or 2, and then we do classes, teach the lunchtime classes. So every week, the system's just getting built and built and built. I'm on week 5 right now of the 16 weeks. But now at week 5, I'm actually ready to turn it on and actually sell the course.
One thing that's really important that you said that I hope a lot of people listening, that are thinking online courses and that don't work with martial arts, there's 3 major things that I want people to think about, and maybe this might help you as well. Number 1 is, if somebody's already a purple belt or a black belt and you're teaching them about a specific move or a specific verbiage, they already know what BJJ is. They already know the process. They already know the workout. They're going for advanced techniques. So when you're talking about something, they can see it and they can hear you and they can go, I get that. And then they can take that where they want, right? That's number 1. So that you can sell it as an advanced course. Number 2 is there's a lot of people that once they went through, let's say, getting ready for jiu-jitsu or a, basic training, kind of like the military gives you a basic training.
Yeah.
They have to come in. They still start as a brand new student in a physical sense, but they're a completely different student. The terminology, they understand it. Yeah. The understanding of the process, the systems and everything. You actually probably get a fantastic student that excels in and beyond, which then could turn into an instructor quicker with more knowledge, and then could also take over a program for you and help you advance the program. Number 3 is, I remember when I was, a little tiny guy, I was buying VHS tapes. I was buying books on how to learn martial arts, and I spent a good amount of money as a kid buying these things, and it's what kept me excelled into it, and it just took me to a different level. There's people selling thousands of books on how to, street fight. All right, we can get all excited about whatever we want, but the truth of the matter is the customer is right. And if the customer wants that, and they want it in that format, if they're willing to spend, that on a book, for God's sakes, a virtual course is going to be 1,000 times better. And the other part of it is this: with a course, you can charge way more, and people don't do it. At minimum, there is a course that you should be creating that you're selling for at least $19.97, like $2,000. There should be a course that you're selling, really you can sell online between a $500 to a $20,000 program and do it very profitably. And the thing is when you get lower than that, the way you sell a course when it's lower than $500 is by selling it through your populated email list, because then there's not the cost of advertising to sell that person. That's where people die, is they don't understand the actual cost to acquire a customer and the balance out of that, and that's where they choke. And that's where, we teach to scale up small, start real small with your ads, understand the metrics and understand the tracking, and then use those metrics to, adjust pricing and adjust what it should be. But here's the deal. There's two types of people, right? There's people that are just trying to throw mud at the wall type of deal. And then there's the person that deserves the value. How can Porsche create a coupe that sells for $250,000 and Chevy can only get 15 grand out of it? They both get you there. They both have 2 doors. They both can be about the same size. What's the difference? It's the quality of what you're getting. It's the ability for it to solve all the problems in containment and give you the performance. And people don't really value that as a martial arts business owner. They don't think about that. They think, oh, well, you're not supposed to make money with martial arts. You're supposed to just give it all away.
Yeah.
Well, you can help more people with money than you can without. And if that's the true martial way, is to provide value to the community and help them be more and get the most out of who they are. And so I think no matter how martial arts is able to come across, if you're really truly ecstatic about it, I think you would be in all those mediums. You would try to deliver it in all those ways. What would you say your biggest aha moment was inside of the course, outside of maybe the offer or anything else like that? What was your biggest, where you were like, you can't go back to the other way of thinking?
Yeah, I think that was really down to the machine principle. I think it was, if we could set this thing up as a machine, and like now I'm excited about the hiring the right people funnel kind of thing, because I think we're sort of like moving in that direction. I'm also excited about the YouTube side of things as well, because I think that's something that we could really capitalize on, especially in BJJ. I think people love video. What do people do? Principle.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick, and I really apologize. What do people, people say, oh, well, BJJ's taken over. Why is that? Well, MMA's on TV.
Yeah.
It's all over the place. It's on media. So you can show up. What did the old instructors used to do is back in the 60s and 70s and stuff like that, my instructor can beat up your instructor. Or, they would go around to the different schools, and if you can beat, all the students will go to that instructor if you beat up my instructor kind of deal. With online now, and the mindset of people's different. It's not like, it's not like it was then in terms of if you had a disagreement with somebody, right?
No.
And the mindset of the people are just different. But how are all the soon-to-be students of yours that are gonna be 20, gonna be 30, gonna be these things, if they're under 35 today, they just about grew up with an iPad. So
Just,
the way they get their information and the way they learn about what's valuable to them is completely different than it's been ever in history. And it's you and the others that are like you in the course that you guys are, you don't even realize that you're like 10 years ahead. You're so far ahead. The people that are getting into this now and creating the machine and creating the virtual course and creating the YouTube authority about what they do, it's almost going to be practically impossible without, I mean, extreme amounts of effort for somebody to catch you and pass you. And I don't think people understand that. I mean, think about the person that's watching this right now. They're watching this.
They're watching this. Yeah, exactly. They are their own customer. So, and I think that is 100% true. The other thing that I did like, I sort of like made out as if it was as a problem with the course. They say it's a lot of hard work to get the machine set. And even if it's not running perfectly, but running, it's a lot of hard work. That's great for me, because if my competitors aren't even willing to do 10% of this, then we're just going to crush them. You know,
and by hard, what do you mean?
By what?
When you say it was hard to set up, what do you mean by that?
I mean, it was just the physical work. So, like I say, in my general calendar, I would sort of like get up in the morning, do a little bit of a workout, come back to the office, do some books, do talk about marketing, set some things up for the upcoming classes for the week. You know, go over all the schedules for the instructors, what have you. See if anybody's going to be on holiday. It was all sort of very, very casual. So I start the course, and it's boot camp. It's week 1, day 1. Right, you've got to do this. So this is the first thing that you need to learn. So you're going to have to come up with your $1 million message kind of thing, you know, your offer. So I download all the sheets, and then I'm writing all my notes down. And then as soon as I finish that bit, then I've gone to the next part of the course. Right, okay, now you've got that information. Let's distill what headlines we want to come up with that are going to be based around. So when you're doing this every single day and you're not used to doing this, and then it gets sort of like technical, you know, then all of a sudden, okay, now let's set up your Facebook account and let's put your first audiences maybe even together. So a lot of people are just going to go, you know, I just stuck with the program and just did everything methodically. I didn't put myself under any pressure. I just carried on plowing through it day. And I think we've done a pretty good job.
So for somebody that's like maybe not as technical savvy, right? And for somebody that's never done Facebook ads or never done retargeting or never done automations or anything like that, would you say, though, that the course is, even for somebody like that, it's completely possible if they just follow along and watch the screen because it's click by click?
Absolutely. That's, even though I'm pretty tech savvy, that's exactly what I did, because I didn't want to make a mistake. It's not. I mean, you'll even get the guys that are on the other end of the spectrum. They're just going, "Oh, yeah, I know Facebook, I know everything," and then what they'll do is they'll just say, "Right, I'll just set up my own ads," and they maybe will miss that module, but they'll miss it's almost like Jiu Jitsu techniques. A lot of the time, the reasons why the techniques don't work is because you're missing a detail. Your elbow will be an inch out of position. Now, when I'm following the system, pause the video, went to my Facebook account, followed it. I had 2 screens side by side, followed the instructions, boom, 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 boom. Worked like a dream. And like I say, everything's up to date. I wasn't confused. You do not have to be a tech genius to do any of this.
You just have to be. You just have to work.
You just got to work. You've just got to be
and focus.
Stick your butt to the chair, do the work, and you'll be successful with the system. For sure.
Do you feel like that you were missing something? Because, you know, a lot of people have shiny object syndrome. They'll be going through it, and then all of a sudden they're like, do you feel like this provided the stuff that you needed where you could just put the blinders on and just focus? Or do you feel like it was still like you didn't, it wasn't as complete as it needed to be?
Not for me. I think that this has been the most complete system for my business. For my Brazilian Jiu Jitsu Academy, I don't need to go anywhere else. I don't need to buy anything else. Provided that I can get these, because these things are in the pipeline. The shiny objects really are already inside the system, like you say, the YouTube. I nearly actually bought the YouTube add-on because it was just so enticing. I just thought to myself, this is what I want, and it's inside the system, but I know it's coming anyway. Whereas the things like the funnel, the hiring funnel, I'm already excited about the hiring funnel now. So I don't really have to go outside of the system, because if I do, I know I'm just putting myself back where I was. Somebody will be talking about, if you run a gym, that was another mistake I made. Buying loads and loads of promotional stuff that works for gyms, gym challenges. I remember, it must have been maybe 18 months ago, 2 years ago. I went along with an American-based consultancy that was charging us a phenomenal amount of money, very, very expensive. But to run a kind of gym challenge, but using BJJ as that challenge. And they generated a ton of leads that were very low quality. I mean, unbelievable. Say we got, say 25 bookings in one night that were all going to come down and we're all going to trial it. I would say maybe 4 people showed. And it was even more difficult because they said, you've got to follow the system. The system works. And that also involved, once those people had booked online, then we had to make a call on the back of it, like a confirmation call, which is the total opposite of what we're doing here. I'm ringing people up who've booked an appointment with me. It's almost like that they are privileged to receive my call to sell them a membership at my academy. Whereas we were just chasing people, and people were going like, I don't even remember doing that. I must have been in the pub and drunk and I saw your ad and I clicked it. So it ended up with this 4 weeks, 6 weeks of a very, very expensive learning process. Must have cost me $10,000.
So talk about, I know we've been kind of talking about just different details. I want you to talk about, I think obviously people want to hear about your success. Like how has life improved? What is your, big, success milestone out of this? Kind of share with people quickly on that. And then I know you have some questions. And then I also want, I want you to just, generally kind of share how you feel about things and what you'd advise people on. One thing before we jump into it, I'll re-ask the question so we don't get too abstract here, but do you feel like you had the support you needed throughout your journey so far? What was the support system like? It's so important to have support. What would you say about the Dojo Student Blueprint and the support that you get?
I thought the support system was great because it isn't just me emailing you waiting for Mike. Which is, again, is fine, because I think the longest I've ever waited was probably 24 hours, and that was probably because of time zone differences, But there was also other people that are in the MAG school that you can go on and we share ideas with each other. To be honest with you, when we talked about the video that I did for my VSL, that VSL video really isn't mine. It wasn't my idea. I went to Fabio's website and checked Fabio out, because he's another BJJ Academy. He's in the Dojo Student Blueprint. So Fabio had already done a couple of videos, and then I got in touch with him and said, is it okay if I sort of like copy your videos? It's absolutely pouring with rain now in the UK. I've just noticed it out the window. So lovely August weather we're having in the UK. But I just copied Fabio's ideas, and then I put my own spin on it, made it a bit more natural for me to deliver. But the concepts and ideas that Fabio delivered, which was the same as the VSL module tells you to do anyway, I thought felt great for me. And again, like I say, I'm pretty tech savvy, so I was a bit more sophisticated with iMovie and made it a little bit more entertaining than a static video. But outside of that, that was really, really, really good. So in terms of the support and everything that I've got so far is second to none. I think the only question that I had was, I want to try and monetize the leads in some way, but we sort of answered that question over time with the online training system.
And there's more coming on that. There's more coming on that too. How to, it's really, that's the next step, is like you go from service 1-to-1 or 1-to-group, and then you go to, instead of selling flesh, you start selling bits, because it'll scale, and it's using that course to monetize it. So everything just pays for itself. And more than anything, you are the guru. Like when somebody comes to you from a course that they did, if you think it's awesome having somebody come in after they watch your VSL video and they think that you're a celebrity, wait till they've been through your 6-week basic training course, or they've been through your, advanced moves course, and then they come and join the school or come to one of your mastermind type deals. It completely, it changes everything, and the quality of the whole group goes up. Just like you said, you had Fabio in there. There's another guy that we have in Germany that, he's a big BJJ guy, and just all the schools, we've got some big names in there, pretty much the biggest names that I know of in the industry in the different disciplines. It's neat to have a quality group, and you get to see all those different things. That's going to change the game for you. I want this to mark a time, because this is a pioneering time right now for martial arts. Number one, COVID sped up what I've been trying to talk about for a long time with martial arts, which is integrating the virtual martial arts side of it, because it's just not there. The automation stuff wasn't there. The teaching in a virtual way wasn't there. Our goal is to get you more students by doing less. And it's also for you to grow a business by doing less with more efficiency, when you have, number one, the automated hiring type thing where people are going to in-house take care of your stuff. So you're a lot quicker. You're a lot more powerful. Number two is integrating the virtual side of things. COVID brought that about quicker. And you right now are literally, you're like in the, barn burner stage where people are going to look. I don't think you even realize it, but it's the people in martial arts that are doing this now. In 5 years from now, 10 years from now, the advancement and the scalability and the place you're going to be at is just going to be, it's going to be really hard for somebody to knock you off. So just talk to me quick, share with them, some of the numbers of like the students you brought in, kind of what that looks like, and just share, how your life has improved since going through the course.
Sure. So we got to a point where we were about to turn the system on. So when we turn the system on, it's like you mentioned earlier, we were starting very, very low scale. So we did get calls booked, and the calls converted, and they converted to appointments, and then they converted into students. So in the first sort of like 5 days of turning the ads on, I think we got 4 students, which for me, like I say, if we did 3 a week, it was great. So, and we didn't spend a lot of money, because like you say, you're starting really, really small. So I didn't need to offset any costs really, because it was peanuts. So we got 4 students almost like out of nothing. And it was all based on just making a phone call, come in, didn't have to give them a free week, didn't have to give them free nothing, just come in. They'd enjoyed themselves. Like I say, we deliver a quality product, they sign up. Second week, 8, third week, 10, fourth week, 10. That's as of today, which is Wednesday. It'll probably be maybe 12 to 15 by the end of the week. So
what's your average student worth to you?
It's worth about, I've estimated, this isn't the lifetime value. This is an average of the annual value, which is about £660. We're very low cost in the UK.
Okay, so £660, and you said this month you've already done 50?
About 38. We're about
38. Okay, so you're £25,000 if you're running off the annual. So what is do you have any lifetime numbers?
Not really, because the academy's so new and young. The way that I've come up with the 660 is that's just basically a 12-month period. So what I've done is I've said some students will fall off, some people will stay with us for 5 years, some people will stay with us for 10 years. So the lifetime value of a student, I haven't had a long enough string. But even if you multiply that by 1.5 and just said that on the average student's going to stay with us about 1.5 years. Like I say, some people stay with us 10 years, some people stay with us 6 months. So the numbers are still massive.
So if we just call it, I'm sure you could probably say just each client is probably worth to you, if you averaged out maybe 1,000 pounds, if you were to like maybe break it down that way. So
lifetime,
So 1,000 pounds, which is about $1,400 in the US, to just kind of to help people understand that. So in US money and terms, basically in your first month here, if we talk about $1,400 times 38 students, you've essentially generated 53,000 US dollars worth of new business, which is, I mean, pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And these are quality students. And then on the, on the pound side, 38,000 pounds, and it could be actually double or triple that depending on the length of them staying. Do you enjoy the new people that have come in? What have you noticed that are different about those students versus your other students? And I know we love them all, appreciate them all. I just, in a business conversation, a business standpoint, we love everybody. We're not talking down about anybody. Yeah. What's the difference you notice in the difference of the students that come in?
The difference for me that I've noticed in the quality is that these people that are coming and now joining sort of with the new system, they are very excited, very, very enthusiastic, nice quality people. And I'm not saying that the people prior to the system, weren't good quality people, but everybody comes to BJJ then with a different agenda. So the prior agendas, they were still the MMA guys. You still got your Conor McGregor types. You still got guys who wanted to be the biggest, toughest street fighter on the street. Guys coming in talking crap to one another and smack talk and all that sort of stuff, shouting things across the gym. So I had to sort of like temper that. I had to sort of like really, really push that down. Look, this isn't the place for that. I had to sort of correct everybody. And in the end, the ones who stayed have all become a nice, disciplined unit. These new guys that join in, they don't have any of that. They're just coming in, nice, quality, professional type people day one.
And you talk about that in your call, but the video sets that standard prior to them even coming in.
Yeah. Because I'm not looking for that. And I want the guys that are going to come and train to not experience that. I'd hate to partner them up with some guy, who's like Frankenstein with bolts sticking out his neck, trying to pull his head off. I don't want to do that. So I want these guys to all have a great fun time, experience BJJ at a really high quality level, and then just decide to stay with us and stay with us forever, hopefully.
That's awesome. So, share. We didn't go much into your martial arts background. You're with Roger Gracie. You're under that.
I am Roger Gracie.
Kind of share a little bit for the people that are watching that are martial arts business owners. Kind of just share in the sense of what it is that you're offering like that.
What, as a Roger Gracie black belt?
Yeah, well, just I think people need to hear a little bit more. You're very humble about where you're at, but to get to where you're at, rank wise is not easy. So
no.
So why don't you share a little bit about I think people just need to hear that you're not just some freshie out the gate here. Kind of share where you're at in terms of that. I know it's kind of not something you probably you're not bragging per se, but I think it's important for people to hear who you are. Sure.
So my early career, I got to a very, very high level in Muay Thai when I was in my early 20s. Really like a black belt level at Muay Thai, but obviously armband level, crew level. And then I also had a first dan in karate when I was in my 20s as well. Went off into other things to, like I say, life got in the way. Then when I started with BJJ, it took me 10 years to get my black belt. Another 3 years after that to get my first degree from Roger. And for those that aren't initiated who maybe don't know who Roger Gracie is, Roger Gracie is the greatest Brazilian Jiu Jitsu fighter of all time. So he's our GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. 10 times world champion. And still to this day, he's the only guy who came out of retirement to fight the current heavyweight champion at sort of like 37 and beat that guy. And then went and retired. It's like, Mike Tyson coming out of retirement to kill the latest heavyweight and then just retiring again the next day. And he actually did that. He hadn't even competed for 3 years. And because he went into MMA for a short period of time, I don't think that suited him too well. He's now got a very, very big academy in central London. That's our headquarters. They've got about just over 1,000 members. It's a very, very densely populated part of London, which is, it's a fantastic, very, very classy academy, in terms of, because BJJ academies in the past used to be a bit rough and ready, like Mickey's out of the Rocky films, like the bucket of blood kind of thing. And that was the old ways. Now people want things that are a little bit more amenable now to contemporary lifestyle. So we're trying to achieve that too. And Roger's a great role model to help us do that. It gives us, again, very much like yourself, gives us a lot of support, comes to my academy twice a year to train with my students. And, it's almost like being a big fan of football, soccer, and Cristiano Ronaldo coming and giving you guys a little bit of a run around on the football pitch. You see, it's that kind of feeling when the guy turns up. Most people are just in awe of him, like some massive celebrities just turned up. He's amazing. So, yeah, BJJ is a tough road, but like I say, I've got a wide level of not only respect, but also experience of striking martial arts too. I'm just a little bit old for the striking martial arts now. My joints won't take it quite as well as they used to, but I still have a lot of respect for those guys.
Well, congratulations, seriously, on your achievement. Like it's incredible to be at that level. I really, there's no shortcut to that, and so I appreciate you having that confidence and that stick to do that, because now you're able to take what it is that package it up in such a way that you can share with others and really make a huge impact. And obviously big congratulations on your success with the martial arts system or the Dojo Student Blueprint system. And it's really only the tip of the tip here. There's just so much stuff coming that I wish I could even. It wouldn't even make sense if I said it in terms of what's coming. It wouldn't even make sense without a long, explanation. But there's so much more coming. We've got such great things in the works. What would you? And I want to get to your questions here, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. But what would you tell somebody that this is after the pandemic? This is things are tough right now. A lot of people lost a lot of students. There's a lot of things that have really changed in the martial arts industry. As far as I'm concerned, it's probably one of the worst recessions ever in the history of martial arts in terms of what actually got taken away. It wasn't just a loss of money. It was literally you weren't even able to connect with the students that you worked hard to get and everything. So incredible challenge that many people are in right now and facing at this point in time where we're creating this video. But what would you say to somebody? And please don't, sugarcoat anything, both good or bad or whatever. What would you say to somebody that's thinking about getting the Dojo Student Blueprint, or maybe they think that it's not going to work for them, or they don't think it works, or they think it's not worth it, whatever? What would you say to somebody about the system that would help them understand what decision they do want to make, if they do want to schedule a call with us, whatever? What would you say to those people?
I would say, first off, schedule a call. Speak to Mike. Just like us having a conversation now, I don't think this was any different before I was a student of yours, a client of yours. I think that we got on great. It's very, very casual attitude. So even if they're thinking, should I, shouldn't I, schedule a call. Take the call. It's going to cost you nothing. Get some ideas from Mike. He'll talk to you about where things are and how he thinks he can help you. If he can't help you, he will also tell you that too. I found that very, very honest. Spoke to a couple of members. Was it a
pressure sales call or anything like that?
Not at all. Not at all. Didn't feel like that to me at all. And I don't know if you remember our initial conversations. I have a couple of partners too. So I wanted to run it by them. So I'm sort of like doing a second degree sort of sale down the line. But they were looking up to me to say, if you want to do it, you do it. And I was the one who was going to have to do all the work because really, ultimately, this is going to become their academy, when I come to retire. So I'm sort of like laying the groundwork. So I can't make a lot of mistakes with their future to a certain degree. But then, I spoke to a couple of members of your team as well at the same time. Very, very straightforward, very easy to deal with. I would go for it. That's the thing that I would say to them. Go for it. But if you're not willing to do the work, usually as a martial artist, you'll know, and if you're a business owner, a martial artist, you know how much effort and time and work it took you to get to where you are. Whether you're a black belt in Taekwondo, whether you're, a grandmaster in Wing Chun, you know the blood, sweat, and tears you have been through to get to that stage. So if you want your business to be at black belt level, you really, really do need a good instructor, and B, you've got to be willing to commit to time on the mat. If you're not willing to do those two things, you're defeating your own purpose. Because basically, most instructors are saying to people on the street, come and join my place. I'm the best instructor for the kind of thing that you want to achieve, and I can get you from A to B. And that's what you're saying. I can get you from A to B, and I can be the instructor. And I genuinely believe, like I say, I've been through this a lot. And I genuinely believe that if you stick to the system and you follow the system and don't try and overthink it, don't try and outsmart it, you'll get the results that you want.
So what are things that you would say, just what are the top 3 highlights? Because there's a lot of people that say, oh, I've heard of these systems. Oh, there's a ton of people, and there's a lot of people that are trying to help businesses, do ads and get students and things like that. What would you just say that really would separate us from the things that you've experienced? And then let's get to your questions here.
Okay. The main thing that I think has happened, and I was talking to my daughter this morning, is since we've been using the system, and outside the cost of the system, I think that's almost immaterial now, because we've made such a high ROI out of using the system. It's almost peanuts in comparison to what we're making today. But I was talking to my daughter this morning, and she said that she's been online a few times and she's seen a couple of my ads, and I think she clicked on one of the ads, and now I'm everywhere. She sort of can't get away from me no matter what she does. My brand within this local area as the Jiu Jitsu school to train at is very, very well established. And with all the other courses that I did before that, nothing has come close to achieving this level. And the other thing was, they're always a little bit half-assed is probably the wrong word, but they'll show you a piece of the puzzle and say, try this. This is Facebook marketing. And like you say, everybody's doing Facebook marketing. Everybody's on it. But the way that the system set up the Dojo Student Blueprint is different, because we're talking to them with a particular message and following up with them with that message. Whereas I'm not just spending money on saying, talk to everybody in the local area or pop up an ad every blue moon. We're very, very constant and consistent. And I think consistency wins in this particular race. I always think this: if McDonald's making all their money from just being on the street, on the high street, I mean, I don't bear any McDonald's ads in my brain, but I know that, the kids go to McDonald's, my missus goes to McDonald's, I go to McDonald's every now and then. Why are they spending so much money on marketing? Because they're always going to stay ahead. They will always be top of mind. They could stop marketing tomorrow. They could stop all the TV commercials, anything on the internet. They could stop everything tomorrow, and McDonald's will still be there in 10 years' time. But they're not. They're trying to build a bigger market share against their competitors at all times. And I think that that's working for us.
Do we teach you to just, post all the time? You got to be posting all the time, all that stuff?
I don't do anything. I genuinely don't do anything. The only thing I do all day is take calls. That's all I do. And I get people booked in to come and try out, my academy, and they sign up. They love it. And
what's nice about it is you're recording those. And so when you get the hiring funnel, you put that in place, they'll just be able to listen to your calls. They'll know how to, do it. And then they take over, and now you're shifted on to another place where you're doing more product development, and you're increasing it's just the quality just keeps going. So, yeah. Well, listen, Barry, You're a phenomenal guy. I can't wait. You know, we've got years ahead of us together working on things. I can't wait to have this call again in like a year from now and and see what's changed and everything like that. First off, before we jump into the questions and things like that, what is it that people need to do to get a hold of you? Like how can they contact you? Where are you at? How do they reach you? What kind of share where you're at and stuff like that?
The easiest way to get a hold of me is to either go onto RGA Bolton, Bolton, on Facebook. Just look up RGA Bolton, or Barry, Barry, at rgabolton.co.uk. Not .com, .co.uk. And if you email me directly, I'll give you any advice that you want. I'll say everything. I'm completely open book. Like I say, I work with other guys within our mag system, our mag school, and they're all great. Everything's great.
Do you have from the tracking sheet? Do you have what does it cost you per lead on average right now? What is your cost per lead?
Right. Let me take a quick look. I should have had this open. I knew you'd ask me a question about this. So if I'm looking at cost per lead, we're at £15 right now. So I'm definite. So right now in August, I'm actually 124% up on my cash. And right now in August, I am 2,324% up on my revenue.
That's fantastic.
Everything's green right now.
So, so the first thing is, do a test and see if by asking just for full count, right? Like just by saying, this is what it is to join. Right. And then, in the bottom of the script there where we talk to you about the bottom part, we talk to you about those objections and how to handle that.
Yes.
So if they're like, okay, then handle that objection and see if you can't just because if you can get them to sign up on the one call, which many people do, yeah, then that goes away immediately. You're already cash positive and revenue positive, but it can be better.
Yes.
And just try that. That's just the first most simple way to solve that problem is just get paid on that first call. We think that they need that first month or that's like part of the attraction. What you ought to do is, like we talk about, is, hey, this is what it normally costs per month. Maybe it's 100 pounds or 200 pounds or something, yeah. Right? And they'll be like, oh my God, that's so expensive compared to everybody else here in town. Well, there's a reason a Porsche costs more than every other car too.
Yeah.
So that should be built into it. I mean, you are a black belt. You are under the greatest, you're Roger Gracie, like there's a reason.
Yeah.
So that, and that's to me would be ultra attractive because I don't want to just train with any old person.
Yeah.
So you can do that. But then you say, but, because we've noticed that people that join with us right away, they're better students of ours and yada, yada, yada. We do have a first call incentive. Whereas if you can make a decision on the call with me today, because we do have limited spots, you can get started today at this amount. And then
right.
And collect that money. That's the first easiest way to solve that problem. Number 2 is, what is the biggest problem that you notice of people that when they want to join, your school or BJJ, whichever, what is the biggest hurdle that people have, or what is the biggest fear or problem that they have?
I don't think we're tracking that. I really, really don't. Because right now, like I say, we're at about 90%. And because we're only really selling for the first time in a long time, I tend to find that most people are just, you can tell sometimes when people actually show up, they've not got the right personality, they're a little bit, this isn't for me, before they even get on the mat. And you can sort of sense that. But like I say, that's probably been about 2 people in the whole 4 weeks that we've just been running the system. So I've not really got a key objection or a key block. I mean, there was one guy who wanted to try it a few more times, but we just more or less said, yeah, you can come and try it for free as well if you want a couple more times. But the joining fee will be £95 when you come back. And he joined straight away.
So
So
on that first question, where you kind of introduce yourself on the call and, you go through the steps there. And then you say, so what is it that really motivated you to want to take time out of your day and schedule this call with me? What's the typical response that you get back?
well, I've got varying. I've got like, I really, really wanted to get into jiu-jitsu, been thinking about it for a long time. I've either never had the money or I've never had the time to do it. And now my circumstances have changed. So they're always committed, but it's usually confidence, fitness, or they want to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu. One of those three are the big key issues.
Okay. And what are the big things that have stopped them from wanting to join in the past? Like why have they waited this long? For those that have wanted to join in the past but never did, what was the biggest thing holding them back from wanting to join, or holding them back from joining?
It seemed to be more their personal circumstances than it was us. Some people didn't even know we were there. They just were unaware of us. But some people say, I used to have a job that maybe do loads of shifts and I didn't make a lot of money out of it. Now I've changed careers and I can afford it. I've got more time. Some people were just intimidated, believe it or not. Anxiety seems to be a key thing. We've got a guy booked on the phone, drove up to the academy, sat outside and couldn't get out of his car and went and drove home, and then sent me a lovely email saying, I would have loved to have trained with you guys, but I just got too anxious when I arrived, so I drove off.
Anxious because he's scared to like have that kind of physical interaction with somebody?
Maybe.
Or
I think people, the perception is with BJJ, I think they think it's like Fight Club or MMA. And because it's being pushed all the time in MMA, they want to join jiu-jitsu, but I think they think they're going to come and get a real tough time.
Okay, so that answered my question. So for $20 US, your 15-pound is your cost per sign up. So your cost per lead is about 50, which is, it's actually just, it's a little high. Like I would like it to be, about half that, but you're also in the adjustment phase too. I think there's some adjusting that you'll do, and you'll learn a lot about, as we go forward. I've got a lot. I'm putting a new copywriting course inside of the Dojo Student Blueprint. So to like really get those ads, because really when your cost per lead is high, there's really just a couple things at play. Number one, it's the message is harder to understand. Even if you think it's easy, for them, it's hard for them to understand. So messaging is usually why your costs go up. They don't understand why it's, worth it, or they don't understand why they should. So there's just a bit of resistance. You're also brand new. These things are going to balance out later. You're going to see some balance out, and it'll come down. You'll get smarter. Every call you do, I'm sure now after doing the calls you've done, your ability to write an ad now is completely different.
Completely different.
And what you can say in a video, and when you learn what we're going to learn in the magnetic YouTube course, you're going to freak out, because I'm going to show you, you'll literally be, without any exaggeration, because I know you're going to install this into your system and your process, but you should be just everywhere, anything searched in terms of BJJ in your area, or it could be even like online. So, you'll have that. But the big thing that, with that is, what about a course preparing people for it? Because if that guy sat in the parking lot and didn't come in, and he's a grown man, that is a problem probably persisting everywhere. So if you had a course where you were preparing people for it, and it was, low dollar amount, but still had a cost to it, and you could probably find that you could charge even more, which would just retain more, quality coming out of it, because it would be out of a range for people that aren't as serious. But just set it at the, average, maybe $10 more, or 10 pounds more than the average cost, or whatever it would be for the average lead. And then you can be promoting that, and people would go from that into your school, which would just bring an entirely different client to begin with. And it would solve a lot of problems. And then when you learn about the YouTube side of things, and how we're going to be building out that and integrating that into your automations and your funnel, you're going to be able to really remove a lot of that in the different videos that you're going to do to get people prepared for it as well. So that's really just going to be one of those things where you're going to build that out. I know throughout my automations, you know, I'm always talking to the list and showing them different things. And you want to, one thing that people make the mistake of when they're doing like YouTube videos, as you'll learn here coming up, is they, instead of showing them like how things are done or how to do something, you know, you want to focus more on like wowing them, or, you know, showing, and, you know, like how to do it is what they got to pay for, but what to do is something they can learn. So the way you present your information is like, you know, here's what this is and why it works and all that stuff, but you don't show them how it actually works. And that's where they'll want to come in and pay you. But also in that same way, you can help them understand and overcome those problems. Because that's really what it is, you know, that it's really just overcoming that, you know, overcoming those fears and objections. And, you know, it's probably going to get to a point too where it even makes sense, if you start seeing the objection a lot, is if it's a time and money thing, why they can't join, you can solve that problem for them too.
Yeah. By selling them this.
Well,
that's a good idea.
You can teach them how to have time and money to join jiu-jitsu.
Right. I see. And you know what? I was thinking, would you do this as like almost like a separate promotion, like a cold promotion, and just say, do you want to try the, you know, getting prepared for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, sell it as sort of like a little online course. Then when they click on the online course, they can buy the course for £20. Then when it gets to the end of the course, say to them, but if you want to train with me personally.
Well, you're going to be teaching them, you know, within your training, they're going to learn everything about you, right? They're going to learn that you're in their local area. They're going to learn that it's possible to sign up. And you just sprinkle that throughout the course all the way. And yes, you would just sell this as like not as a tool per se to leverage them into your school, which is exactly what it would do and what it's for. But you would just sell it as like people would buy it all over the world.
Right.
So you would have, you know, you may help Fabio, you may help Fabio get 10 more students, but they all bought your course. And you could also work something out with these other people too, that you would, hey, depending on where you're at, here's the schools in your area. And you would have like a deal where they would, you know, it'd almost be like an affiliate thing.
So really, really exciting times, Mike. And I hope we do spend all this time together for the next few years, because I will definitely refer affiliates to you. I think it's an amazing program.
Yeah, no, I really do appreciate it. And, you know, we got a lot of great times ahead, frankly. I mean, it's like, it's just the beginning. So you enjoy the rest of your day. I so much appreciate, and I'm grateful for you, and I'm excited to hear more, and we'll just keep connecting, and I'll let you know about the recording, and hopefully it went through, and we'll carry on.
Okay, great. Thanks for your time, Mike.
Right,
really appreciate it.
Take care.
See you soon, mate.
Bye.